What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Chris, man. We are here at the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. It is Monday, November 11th. It is Veterans Day. Salute to all my veterans out there. No question about it. We appreciate your service. No question. My name is Chris Drummond. I'm a freelance sports reporter based out of Minnesota here. I'm also in sales and proprietor of this podcast, Work Hard, Play Harder, where I bring individuals on to talk about their why and get to know them outside of their occupation. I got a special guest that's coming on with me today. She has a podcast of her own called Beyond with Heather Tesch. We're going to talk about her podcast as it's been going strong for almost 2 years. She also was a meteorologist for the Weather Channel as well. So we're going to talk to her about her why of getting into journalism and podcasting. She graduated from the University of Minnesota, which is where I'm at now. She's also in Atlanta right now, where I graduated college at in Kennesaw State University. So we got some ties, and we're going to talk and we're going to find out some things and get to know each other. So without any further ado, I introduce you the wonderful and the talented Heather Tesch. Good morning, Heather. How you doing?
Hello, how are you, Chris?
I'm doing good. It is wonderful to see you. You look absolutely lovely this morning. Just
Oh,
wanted to say
thank you. Thank
you
you.
are
You do.
very.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. I say you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the kind words. No doubt about it. I just wanted to say thank you again for
You
hopping
are
on my
wel-
podcast.
you are
Work-
welcome.
yes, absolutely. How's
We
your week
got
going?
the good. We got the green memo going here.
We do. We do.
Yeah, got
And,
lots of
and look,
green.
green looks good on you. There's no
And
question
you as
about it.
well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you.
the start of the new week. It's Veterans Day.
Yes. Mhm.
Absolutely want to salute all of our veterans. Thank them for our service. No question about that. How's your week starting off?
My week is going great. I took yesterday off, which is kind of a rare thing when you have a podcast. It's so easy to work 7 days a week, just because there's so many little things that I always have to do. So it was nice just to take a little break. And now I'm back into reality and going to work on it again today.
I love it. I love it. And we would definitely get into that podcast. If I'm not mistaken, it's called Beyond with Heather Tesh. Uh,
Correct?
think of that? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to reiterate to you, Heather, why I wanted to have you on my podcast is because I'm a journalist. I'm freelance now, but I was doing journalism work there in Atlanta while I was going to college and school.
Mhm.
Probably know of the Marietta Daily Journal and the Cherokee Tribune
Yes.
Ledger. Both of those, I was covering sports from football, baseball, basketball, and lacrosse. I transitioned over here into Minnesota now,
Yeah.
in Southwest Minnesota for the past 2 years. I was covering 12 high schools and a college, and doing all different kind of sports and learning all different kind of skills. I decided to go freelance to have a little bit more control, but also open up my schedule a little bit more as well. Because I still love journalism to the core, but I just thought that I wanted to kind of open up my schedule a little bit, have more control over stories that I would like to do. Um, I know you are a recovering meteorologist, so you
Yes.
also was working for TWC, which is the Weather Channel,
Yeah.
and you were doing that, and now you're doing this podcast. So I wanted to kind of hear your story about how you came into it. I love hearing stories of different journalists because everybody's story is different. Nobody's story is the same, and we rarely get a chance to sit down and talk like this, right? Because we're always doing a podcast or doing a
Yes.
story. So it's
Hmm.
great to be able to, hear your story and do that. So I say that to start off with this first question,
Okay.
which is what is your why? Why do you do what you do? Did you have any role models growing up? Did you have any inspirations and people you kind of wanted to model your career after? But what is your why of doing what you do in the journalism field?
So, where do you want me to start? Because I have a why for why I started this podcast, but I also have this other career in both journalism and meteorology that, expands way back when.
Oh yeah. Start from the beginning.
Okay. And by the way, I have to say what's interesting is I grew up in Minnesota and I'm now in the Atlanta area, and you were grew up in the Atlanta area, I think, and now you're in Minnesota, which is kind of a neat connection.
That is a very neat connection. That's awesome. Well, listen, whenever I do come back there to Atlanta, I'm gonna have to say hello to you in person.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So yes,
Okay.
as I said, I grew up in Minnesota, and as a kid, I don't know if I really knew what I wanted to do when I grew up, but when I went to college, I decided to go into journalism. And so I went to the University of Minnesota and I got my journalism degree there. My very first college paper was on near-death experiences. Now, that is what my podcast is based on today. But,
Okay.
of course, back then it was just kind of an interest, and I wrote a paper, and, then I did what, normal people did, and I, got the journalism degree, and I went to work for a television station. My first job was in Pensacola, Florida, at a
Okay.
station there. And I moved around a lot initially because my husband, who I married right out of college, he was in the military at the time. So we kind of moved around a lot to different training places. But after doing that for a few years, I ended up going back to school for meteorology this time.
Okay.
And so I then worked in areas. I got my degree while we were living in Maine. He was stationed there. And I worked at a couple of TV stations there for meteorology.
Mm,
Then I got a job. We moved to Pennsylvania. So I got a job in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which
okay.
was a great community. From there, I went to Minneapolis and I worked at WCCO, which probably
Mhm.
you and many of your audience members are familiar with. And wonderful there. We were home. My husband and I are both from Minnesota. So it was great to be there. We thought we would be there forever. And so now this is as a meteorologist because I now had my degree in meteorology. And then the Weather Channel called and just said, "Hey, we'd love to, talk to you. Do you want to come down?" And I really didn't have an interest in it. I thought I was home.
Okay.
And then I came down here and I loved it. It was so green. It's so sunny down here, which growing up in Minnesota, it could be kind of cold and snowy
How
and
about that? Yeah.
cloudy.
Mhm. Mhm.
And gray sometimes, especially, certain times of the year. So
Yeah.
I came down here and the Weather Channel was such a great a community. I loved the people that were running it then, who owned it then, the management then, the people there. I mean, everybody was just wonderful. And so we decided to kind of take a leap. And so we ended up moving down here and and it was wonderful. I worked for both the Weather Channel, the TV side, and I hosted a show there with Marshall Cease for, gosh, about probably about 12 years.
Okay.
I hosted their morning show called Your Weather Today, and that was wonderful. And my partner Marshall was fantastic. We had a great time. And then eventually I went to their digital side, which is
Mhm.
what you get on your phone. So,
Absolutely.
so I worked on that most recently. And then in May of 2023, I left that and leapt right into hosting a podcast. And it was always a dream of mine to do something independently. I guess not always, but um, once COVID hit, I really started thinking about doing something on my own. And
Sure.
we started um, doing all of our shows from home, meaning I, had my microphone here and I had the camera. And so I would shoot the weather videos here. We had somebody else making graphics at their house and somebody else putting it all together, the editor, and somebody else putting it, actually on the internet. So we were all working together, but in our own homes. And I had prior to that, probably 10 years before that started thinking, oh, it'd be great to do something on my own, but what can I do with these skills? What can I do that I'm passionate about? And I'd always been passionate about near-death experiences. So, I
Mm.
started to think about starting a podcast during COVID. And, it's hard to leave something that you're getting paid to do and that you do really enjoy and you like the people, but just to leap out on your own and to start and you have zero subscribers. And,
It's
I
scary,
talk,
no doubt.
it's very scary. And I talked to
Mhm.
my husband, he's just like, hey, if you're ever going to do it, you better do it. And so I leapt into it. So my last day doing weather was something like May 7th, and my first podcast was out on May 9th. So I've been doing two podcasts ever since. and it's been wonderful. I love what I'm doing. You asked about why I'm doing what I'm doing, and although we're examining what happens to people when they die, um, the overall theme that they come back with is that we're all one, and how important it is for us to live that way and to be more loving and to be more kind and to be more empathetic. So that really is the message, and that is really something that I wanted to put out there, something very positive
Mhm.
into the world, and something hopefully that could just bring us all together. And I think these messages, if you listen to near-death experiences, one of them might be interesting. But when you listen
Sure.
to many over time, I really think they change people because they make us want to be better people. And so hopefully that's what my podcast is accomplishing.
I love it. I love that. That is a terrific start to this conversation that we're having for sure.
Mhm.
I want to ask you, you mentioned it,
Mhm.
University of Minnesota, go
Yeah.
Gophers.
Hmm.
But you also got your degree at Plymouth State
Yes.
University as well. Talk to me about attending those two schools and if any other school could have persuaded you from going to those.
Well, I love the University of Minnesota because, of course, I'm a Minnesotan. Even though I live in Georgia now, I always consider myself a Minnesotan. Um,
Sure.
I, I went back to school. We were living in Maine at the time.
Mhm.
And that's when I started to think seriously about going back to school for meteorology. I just found it really interesting. I don't think I was necessarily cut out for news because news can kind of be a tough business sometimes in terms of the stories you have to cover.
No question.
They can be
Yep.
heartbreaking, they can be hard. So I really thought meteorology was kind of something very interesting that I was very intrigued by. And so I ended up going in that direction. And there weren't, a lot of choices of schools that had meteorology that were close by to where I lived. So I was living in Maine and I actually drove, I think Plymouth, New Hampshire was like 2.5 hours. I can't quite recall. But
Wow.
I would drive up Monday. I would live in a boarding house. I would go to school, and then Friday I would drive back. And then I also was working at one of the local TV stations there. And so initially I just said, "Hey, can I, just observe you? Can I kind of be an intern,
Sure.
just for free?" And that led to me doing the weekend weather. And so I was, 5 days a week I was in Plymouth, and 2 days a week I was then back in Maine, and then also working, doing the weather. And so it kept me pretty busy. And
Sure.
um, it's a tough road when you're trying to build a career sometimes, and so you have to work kind of hard. And then my husband got transferred in the military to Pennsylvania. But for 6 months, I kept working in Maine. So I would drive now 8 hours up and do the weekend show. I had gone from Fox initially to the CBS affiliate. And so I would
Mhm.
do weekends there. And then I would drive back Sunday after the show at like 11 and drive, 8 hours back. And I would do that every weekend for about 6 months before I got a job in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And as the saying goes, it's always easier to get a job when you have a job. So I really didn't want to let go of that. So I did that long commute. And everywhere I've worked, I've just encountered so many wonderful, wonderful people. So that's
Awesome.
really
I
been a
love it.
blessing. And I was in Lancaster when I went then and got a job at WCCO.
Yep.
So that was kind of that progression. But I think there are a lot of great schools for meteorology. That just happened to be the one that I chose at the time. And so so that kind of led me to doing that. And I did that for many, many years.
Mhm.
Gosh, probably, I don't know how many years was I a meteorologist, but probably 20, over 20 years.
I love
Um,
that.
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
It's
And
pretty cool.
then, yeah, maybe even more than that, maybe 25. I don't know. I haven't done the math really, but and that's when I switched. And, I loved weather, but this is my passion. It was kind of always something I would read about and study about, just on the side. Is we all have things that are of interest, and this was
Yeah.
my one of my interests. So I had read a lot of books on near-death experiences, and then Then when, YouTube came around, I was able to watch some of them as well. So that kind of just built my interest over time. And I finally said, hey, I think I can contribute to this community. And hopefully I've done that. So,
Oh, I'm pretty sure you have. No question about that. I love hearing that. Wow, 8 hours you would drive. I mean, that's
yeah,
dedication right there, Heather. I mean, that's what it is. But
yeah,
you did what you had to do. Probably in your mind, you was like, I'm gonna do this. This is only gonna be temporarily. It's not gonna
hmm
be forever. But
right.
you did it,
Yeah.
and I commend you on that for sure. No question, because that sounds tough to do. And just
It was,
regardless of what it is. So, um. I want to ask you some favorite questions, Heather.
okay.
And I have some written down here, and I just want you to give me the 411 based upon these favorite questions. Are you with me?
Okay. I'm going to hope to be with you.
Okay, okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
Favorite meal you like to cook?
I don't like to cook, so there it is. I realize, by the way, I just have this like weird sunlight that is sort of on my forehead, so I'm going to try to lean back a little bit more.
You are totally fine. You
Oh,
look great. You look
oh,
amazing.
thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My favorite meal I like to cook. I don't like to cook. So if I'm cooking, it's going to be something very, very basic, like spaghetti. Um,
Okay.
I don't have a lot in my repertoire now. So yeah, that's not a,
That's okay. That's all right. That's the pretty much the life of a journalist. We keep it basic and simple.
yeah.
Us we're always on the go, and we
Mhm.
don't work conventional times. So for me, it's tacos, spaghetti as well,
Oh, I like
chicken
that.
too. So yeah, so stuff like that. Very basic. I'm not a huge cook. I'm much more of a griller. That's me. But yeah,
Fortunately, my husband's a griller, so
there
yeah,
you
we do
go.
that a lot. Yeah.
I'm with him on that. That's no doubt. Okay, that's cool. Favorite concert you've ever attended?
Prince.
Oh, okay. Now how was that?
Mhm. In Minnesota. Wonderful. I mean, Prince is amazing. I it was in Minneapolis at the time. I was in college. Probably drank a little too much, but was it was a
Mm,
very fun concert. So that would be my favorite.
absolutely. Prince, I mean, how can you not like Prince?
Uh,
He's iconic. Since coming
Legend.
here, I went to Paisley Park and got a chance to tour
You
that.
did. Oh,
I did.
wonderful.
I did. That was pretty amazing to just be in that studio, that
Yeah.
surrounding is going around. I had to do it. I'm here in Minnesota, so that's one of the main things here. Like, I'm sure in Atlanta there, hopefully you'll get a chance if you haven't already, tour Martin Luther King Jr.'s house.
Yes, yes. In
Um,
fact, I did that long ago when my kids were young. But I also wanted to say about Princess, I actually met him. It was
oh,
kind of a fun story from college is my friends and
okay,
I were at a bar and I don't know if it was Club Casino. It's not around anymore. I can't quite remember the name, but
sure.
he was there. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, he was just there hanging out. And so I said, I've got to say something to him. So I walked by and I said, I love your music. And he said, thank you. And, that was it. That was my big conversation. But it's always kind of one of my claims to fame is that I saw him there and was able to just at least exchange a few words. So that was wonderful.
Pretty awesome. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
every day you wake up and you get to meet somebody who met Prince. I mean, that's just amazing. Even though it was brief, it doesn't matter. Just his aura. I mean, his music,
Oh,
his
yes.
legendary. No question about it. So I
I
love
also actually lived near him when I was working at WCCO. I lived in Chanhassen, Minnesota,
it.
which is
Yep.
where he lived. He was only 2 miles from my house. However, you couldn't see it. It was all fenced in and it was surrounded by woods. But I always
Sure.
thought that was kind of neat that I lived close to Prince.
Okay. I like that. Now, this is a bonus favorite that I have that just
Okay.
came up in my mind. Now,
Okay.
are you a Waffle House connoisseur? Now that you moved down there to Atlanta, Georgia, there's Waffle Houses everywhere down there and Chick-fil-A's. Are you a connoisseur of both?
I have eaten at Waffle House when we first moved down here. That was the very first restaurant we went to. And I love it. It's great. Unfortunately, I'm gluten-free now, so I
Oh, I got
don't do waffles unless they're
mhm.
gluten-free, which I doubt they make there. And Chick-fil-A, my kids love Chick-fil-A. I've never been a huge fan of Chick-fil-A. It's fine. But I
Mm,
know everybody seems to love Chick-fil-A that lives here in this area, and I know
no
my kids
question.
like it. Yeah. Yeah.
No question. Atlanta, Georgia definitely is known for Chick-fil-A, Waffle House. They
Yeah.
say the varsity, but I think the varsity is kind of overrated. But that's just me.
But you got to go there. You have to
Yes,
go there at least once, yeah, to the
yes, you
varsity.
do. No
Yeah.
question. Okay. Favorite place, Heather, you ever traveled to?
Oh, wow. First of all, I have to say I love traveling to Minnesota. I'll be coming up there soon to see family. So that's always a treat because I still have my mom, excuse me, and four sisters that live there, and my husband's family is also there. So I
Awesome.
love traveling to Minnesota. But I have been to a lot of wonderful places. I really enjoyed, I haven't gone to too many places outside of the US, but did go to Costa Rica with some girlfriends,
Okay.
and that was wonderful. Just a very beautiful area. But I have a group of high school friends, and every year we go somewhere, we travel. And so we've, just been to a lot of places. We've gone to Nashville and we've gone to Austin and Santa Fe and all these areas are wonderful and amazing in the US. We've also gone to Cancun, which, is just a lot of fun too. So
Mm,
I think I love everywhere I travel. There's every place has just something special to it and unique to it. It was the same way when my husband and I were moving around the country due to his military career. It was just so fun to just live in the different areas for a bit. I lived in Maine for a while, which was beautiful. And then I lived in Pennsylvania for a while, and I just thought that was such a beautiful place. And I've lived in Texas and Florida, and they were great. And now I'm in Georgia. So, oh, and I love Phoenix, Arizona too. That's a beautiful
mm.
place. And Sedona, Arizona. My daughter's actually named Sedona. So,
Oh, that's awesome. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
I would say the Cayman Islands. Before my cruise that I went on a couple weeks ago, I went on a 7 day cruise. Um,
Nice.
it was Cabo San Lucas, but after the cruise, it's been the Cayman Islands. I've just never seen water that clear, that blue. Swimming with the dolphins and the
Oh,
stingrays was amazing.
nice.
So yeah, got a chance to do that.
That sounds wonderful. I have never been there, but I've heard good things about it. So I'll have to put it on my list of places I'd love to go.
Please do. I'm definitely thinking about doing another cruise next year, no
Mm.
question. Talking to my travel agent as we speak to see what rates we can get the best ones possible. But I'm definitely going on one next year for sure. I just haven't pinned down the location, either Greece or maybe either Honduras, Belize, or Puerto Rico. One of those two, though, for sure. I want to
Sounds
be.
amazing.
Mhm. No doubt, no doubt. Now I'm a sports person, Heather, so I'm gonna ask
Okay.
you a sports question. Favorite
Okay.
sport you like to watch on TV? Favorite sport you like to attend in person?
Attending in person is I loved watching high school football because my son was a running back, and it was really fun to see him scoring touchdowns. And he was very athletic, which he did not get from me, but he got from his dad. So,
Mm,
I'm not a huge sports person, but having a child in a sport really changes that. And so now I'm much more interested in football. I would say golf is kind of interesting to me just because
mm,
every now and then my husband will sit down and watch a golf game and I'll just sort of jump in and I'll get kind of wrapped up into it. So I would say probably it would be football and golf. I'm not a basketball fan. I've never really enjoyed that sport. It's even
mm.
when my son played it for one season, and it just wasn't my thing. But
I totally understand. Everybody got their cup of tea. Some people like tea, some people like lemonade, some people like Arnold Palmer's. So
Mhm.
totally, totally
Yeah,
understand it.
yeah,
I'm a huge football person. Love
yeah,
football, love basketball. I mean, hell, I love every sport except cricket.
yeah.
I can't get down with cricket. That's just me. Can't get down with it. But
Yeah,
but every other sport I'm pretty interested in for sure.
yeah,
But I like that. I like those answers. Football and golf.
yeah.
Favorite restaurant that you like to eat at? Now you're in Atlanta, Georgia, so there's a lot of places there that you can go and eat that's very good. I know that because I spent a lot of years there prior to coming up here. So let me know your favorite place.
Okay. I enjoy a little Mexican restaurant near my house. It's called Luna Maya. And it's just kind of nice because it's never too crowded. It's you
Yeah.
can talk and it's not too loud and they, have great little margaritas and things.
Yes, they do. Some of
Yeah.
the best margaritas I've ever tried. Yep,
So
I know what
you've
you're
been
talking about.
there. You've been
Yes,
there.
I have.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not far from where you went to school.
Yep.
And so I like that. There's another restaurant that I've been to called Modena, which is real nice. It's a little more upscale, so I don't go too often.
Hmm.
Um, but I just like trying new stuff because sometimes I do get tired of going to the same places and there's only so much and I do live still a ways out of Atlanta, so I don't go a lot into there. But if any of you are ever go to the Capitol Grill, my son, he does some valeting there, so you might see
I know about this place.
a
Yeah,
cute blonde kid that is there. Give him a good tip.
that's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. And way to plug that in. I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, no, they got some great restaurants. Probably the area that I inquired about new restaurants or a whole lot of new restaurants is the
Yeah.
Buckhead area.
Oh,
Buckhead
yeah.
area definitely has a lot of restaurants that are very good over
Yes.
by Lenox Mall, for sure. But yeah, being in Kennesaw, 'cause when I went to Kennesaw State, I actually lived in the city of Kennesaw as well. So yes, a lot of those Hispanic spots and restaurants
Mhm.
over there, I definitely know about Lou and Maya. There's no question. I went there plenty of times for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, there's so many great ones. I could name more, but yeah.
sure.
Seed is another one. I think it's called either Seeds or Seed is a great one in Marietta too.
Yep.
So
Yep,
yeah.
you're right. Absolutely. Okay,
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that. As I do. Let's talk about your day to day.
Okay.
Now that you've kind of stepped away from meteorology, you know what I mean, and
Mhm.
now you're focused on this podcast. I think you
Mhm.
mentioned it before. You say you do two podcasts a
A
week.
week.
I'm saying. Yeah. So tell me about the day to day process of doing these podcasts. How long do they normally go? We know that you talk about near death experiences, but do you have guests on? Is it a
Mhm.
solo podcast? Is it co-hosting? Like, break down to me what some of the details of what your podcast is.
So as we mentioned, it's on near-death experiences, and every week I have a guest who's had a near-death experience,
Okay.
and I break it into two segments. So on Tuesday, part one comes out. On Thursday, part two comes out. Every now and then there's like a part three, and I've even done a part four, but
Mm,
typically it's part one and part two, and their stories are fascinating because they have died, and they talk about what they've
mm,
seen, and it's pretty incredible. And they're all different, but they all have some common elements. But so that's what I put out. But what people probably don't realize is just how much work goes into a podcast. And although I
sure.
love it, I've never worked harder in my life. Even, when I used to get up, I think there was about 13, 14 years I got up at 3 in the morning to do my morning shows. It's and I'm sleeping in a little later than that, but it's still a lot of work because you have to find guests.
Yep.
I like to research my guests, so I usually do a lot of prep, before I go into it. Then you interview them. Then I prepare an edit sheet, which I mean, an edit sheet could take me a few hours to create, and it can take me 8 hours to go through one episode and prepare it. I've had some that I've had montages literally have taken me about 50 hours to put together.
Wow.
One of them because there's just so many edits in it. But I don't do the actual editing myself. I That's one of the things I splurged and I do have one employee, he's a wonderful editor, James O'Donnell, and he does the editing for me and he's wonderful and he makes them look really beautiful. So I figured if I had done that myself, I would be getting out one probably a month because I would not be as swift as he is. And then it's you do the prep, and then I start prepping right away for the next one. And then in the meantime, James will share. the episode that he's edited, and then I'll go through it and I'll go, oh, okay, well, this is good, except for let's change this and this. So we'll make some kind of tweaks to it. Then, of course, you have to come up with a thumbnail or and a title, which are always a challenge to find something interesting because you want to grab people's attention without being clickbaity. You just want them to know. And it's really hard when you have these fascinating guests that you interview, and then you have in your title or your thumbnail, you've got to hone that down to like 6 words. And, it just can't do justice to all of the things that sometimes are covered. And I'm sure you feel the same way when you're putting yours together.
Mhm.
And, then you finish up one and you start at the same time, you're kind of reaching out to others. And then also sometimes I will just watch other things and read other things so I can start thinking about other guest potentials. So I've never really added it up, but I'm guessing it's 40 to 50 hours a week I put in probably to the podcast, and some weeks more than that. And unfortunately, I often work 7 days a week and I'm trying really hard not to. Oh, the other thing I do that takes a lot of time, and I don't know how
Mhm.
much longer I can do it, is I respond to pretty much every comment. And that
Okay.
that takes up a lot of time. And I love being able to connect with the people. And so I really enjoyed it. And I've gotten to know some of the people that are my viewers. But it's a lot of work. And I don't know that as it grows, if I'll be able to keep doing that. But I'm going to try to at least do some with every episode because I do really enjoy
Absolutely.
that. And I feel so grateful for the people that have taken the time to watch my show and to keep coming back to my podcast. It means a lot to me.
Absolutely. That's definitely one of the reasons why I wanted to start mine. Was to be able to tell the A side and the B side, really. Not just hear people's stories and the stories of people, coming into the industry, but
Mhm.
understand that, this is a beautiful industry to be in, but you have to know of everything that you're getting yourself into.
Yes.
Sometimes, when people graduate or when people do internships, it's not for the right reasons that they want to get into journalism. It's sometimes the glitz and the glam, and sometimes it's
Mhm.
they're thinking that they're seeing somebody on TV and they have it made, and it's not really about that. It's the
Yeah.
behind the scenes. People have to know that. And again, this is a beautiful industry, but you need to know the A and B before you make a decisive decision to want to do this for sure.
And I will add to that that you are so true that people do sometimes see the glamour of somebody working in TV, but what they don't realize is, as I mentioned, for years I got up at 3 a.m. because if you're doing that morning show, you're up in the middle of the night. The hours can be long, especially in local TV.
Without
They
question.
they can be long. It's you're working a lot of weekends or mornings or nights or holidays. And so people that work in this field really are hardworking, dedicated people. And that's why a lot of people weed out of it because it
Yeah,
it can be just a lot of work. So I admire everybody who has gotten into this industry because I know it's not easy.
absolutely. And that's a
Mhm.
great segue to this next question, Heather, which
Okay.
is mental health and work-life balance. Right? When we talk about
Mhm.
mental health, like you said, people get weeded out. Some of the words that you hear is burnt out or
Yeah.
overworked or underpaid in
Mhm.
this profession. And you've been in this profession for a long time and doing your thing. How did you maintain good mental health, but also still had that work-life balance to where you can work hard, but also play hard on the outside? Because you seem like a wonderful woman to be around and befriend, but you also seem about your business as well and working hard.
Mhm.
So how did you get that balance in there to, work but have a little fun too, but also keep mental health, um, you know, to the point where you didn't experience burnout?
That was easier before I did my podcast because
Mm,
I would work and I would put in long hours and sometimes really early hours. But when I was done, I was done. When my kids were little, um, I would get off and I'd have, you know, I'd be home by noon because I got up so early that I could spend the whole day with them. And then I would put them to bed at 7 o'clock and then I would go to bed. And so I had a lot of time as my kids got older and before I had kids. I did a lot of hiking and I was able to, I live really close to a national park, so I like to go there a lot and hike. And so I was able to do, I really was able to enjoy my time off. And, and when my kids were in sports, watching them in sports was a lot of fun. And that's a really great way to wind down and, hang out with the other parents and we forged some great friendships. I think it's
Sure.
much harder now because now I am doing my own thing. And so I'm trying to grow it. And
Yeah.
so I don't have a job where I leave the job. The job is always here because I work at home. And
Right.
I'm not as good about taking the time off that I need to. Now, as I said, I took all of yesterday off and I wouldn't even let myself look at the comments. I wouldn't look at anything because I'm so guilty of every single day putting in time. And so I know I need to be better at that. I
Okay.
also used to hike a lot. And since I've started this podcast, I've really let that go to the wayside. And so I'm at the point now where I'm really starting to think about I need to do better at my own thing. And I need to, I've started to also, I mean, I've had many nights where I worked late into the night on it.
Mhm.
And so I kind of recently said, okay, I'm not going to work past 8 o'clock.
Mm.
Ideally, someday I'll get that to 5 o'clock, but that's just probably not as realistic. But I just set it, at 8 o'clock, and usually it goes to 8:15 or so. It gets a little bit, pushed down there, and every now and then I'll have a later night. But I'm trying to start setting some boundaries so that it doesn't so I don't get burned out because I love it so much, and I don't want it to become a chore. And that may mean that I don't grow as fast because I don't,
Yeah.
some things have to give. And whether
Right.
that's not putting out as many things on social media to attract people, not creating as many shorts to get them to watch my longer videos, and maybe eventually not responding to every comment just because I need to balance it enough so I can keep doing it. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Absolutely. I love that answer. I appreciate your transparency as well, because
Mhm.
some things do go by the wayside. You're right.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're going through the cycle and you don't even realize that some things are going through the wayside. You look up and like weeks have passed and
Yeah.
you haven't taken a hike. You
Yeah.
haven't taken a hike, you haven't taken a walk. And you're like, man, when,
Exactly.
when is the last time that you know what I mean? So
Yes.
it's one of those things where I totally understand that.
Yeah.
But that's another great segue because now I want to talk to you about advice, right?
Okay.
What now? I'm sure that there's people that have came up to you before and asked you for
Mhm.
advice on being a
Mhm.
meteorologist,
Yeah.
right? Or advice of starting a podcast, right? Because you said you did something that you always wanted to do and you just started it.
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give an individual that wants to be a meteorologist or wants to start a podcast, right? That just is on the fence or haven't, pulled the trigger, for lack of a better term, to go ahead and do it.
Well, this is what I would say, and this would apply not only for meteorology, but I think for news reporters as well. Is I remember when I was new in meteorology, as I said, I started to do weather broadcasts on television before I had actually got my degree because I was going to school in Plymouth 5 days a week, and then I'd come back on weekends. And I was able to do that because I always already had that background where I'd been a news reporter on TV. But a lot of the people that I went to school with, they'd say, "Well, how do you break in?" And I'd say, all you have to do, this is what I've done, is you call up somebody who's already in the field and you say, "Can I shadow you? Can I hang out with you?" And they're like, "Well, are you getting paid for that?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not getting paid. I'm just going there to volunteer." And I think a lot of it is you have to pay your dues. And I noticed that I invited many of them to come hang out with me, and they didn't. And I realized that there are not a lot of people that are dedicated. And so before you go into a field like news reporting or in meteorology, really think about how much dedication it takes, especially when you're breaking into it. And there are a lot of small television stations around the country, which I worked at. I worked in Corpus Christi, Texas. I worked in Brunswick, Georgia, really, small ones. And so you can get jobs if you're willing to maybe first, hang out, do free internships. I did those both before
Hmm.
being a news journalist and before doing meteorology, and they both got me in the door because one, when you're just shadowing somebody, they're going to let you try a few things and you can, get together a resume tape, whatever you need, that sort
Hmm.
of thing. And then they just know too you're a hard worker. And so sometimes you just get hired there, but other times it might lead to an opportunity somewhere else. So be willing to put the dues in. And I think a lot of people would be able to make it in this field. But when you start out, you're making very little money. And so it's
Very little.
it's
Yes.
hard for people because I fortunately got married right out of college, and I had my husband's income as a naval aviator. At the time, he was just in training, but that's what his career went into. And
Yep.
so he had, at least he was earning a little bit, but it would be very tough to do if you're on your own, living in some of these places. But I will say there's such a camaraderie because you're in it with your coworkers who are all in the same situation. And you might all be spending Christmas together, but you make the best of it. And so, know going into it that you're going to work these long hours, nights, weekends, early mornings, holidays. And if you're willing to do that, I think you can succeed for sure in the business of
Mhm.
journalism on
No
TV and in
question.
meteorology. But a lot of people quit because it's too much. And so they quit before they have the chance to kind of climb the ladder a little bit.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Going back to what I stated before, and that's actually wonderful advice, by the way, Heather. It's just about being decisive on whether or not you want to pursue this field. A
Yeah.
lot of people do get a chance to thrive because, like you said, they kind of work their way up and then pay their dues and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But you hit it right on the head. When you are coming to a college kid and you're talking about, hey, if you want to, get some experience, you should shadow somebody. And the first
Yeah.
question they're going to ask is, am I going to get paid for this?
Yes, they do.
Right. Right. So, and you understand it. It's understandable why they ask that question because most kids, they need money, right? They need to be able to earn and earn money to have money. But at the same
Yeah.
time, if you are fortunate enough and blessed enough to where you can do something like that, you should definitely take advantage. And then there's
Yeah.
some kids that don't take advantage too in that
Yeah.
situation. So I definitely agree with you with that. You definitely shadow somebody for sure. I did it.
Hmm.
I did internship. My first internship was with the Knoxville Ice Bears. I didn't have a car. I was there in Atlanta, Georgia. I took the megabus to
Yeah.
go there. And I would
Hmm.
take the megabus early in the morning. I reserved the hotel. I was working full time and going to school full time online. When you want things to happen, you'll make them happen.
That's true.
It's
When
it's the thing. It's the thing that I'm saying for sure.
when I was in college, one summer I was again, for free, I asked if I could intern at Care 11, which was, oh, well, it's everybody knows what that is if you live in Minneapolis. Sorry, I
Yep.
have a cat hair or something on me. And
It's okay.
so they said there are about 50 other interns. And I thought, wow, I'm just, and all they did basically was sit there and answer the phone and that kind of thing. And I thought, well, how could I get more experience? Well, I said, can I work the overnight shift? And so I would get there at 11 o'clock at night and I would work with the reporter that worked all night and to put the morning show on. And so it was a grind. And most people would say, I'll just take the hours during the day and just answer phones, but I went out every night with the reporter and the photographer, and so I was able to not only watch them, but then when they had a little free time they would let me stand in front of the camera and do my own little stand-ups so that I could also make my own video of the story and put one out there as well. So I mean not out there but just that I could put on a resume tape. So that,
Right.
it just
Your
allowed me things.
portfolio.
Yeah, it allowed me to do things that were wonderful. And I think too, set your own intentions. I remember when I was there, I was, I do think there's a degree to where your thoughts create your reality. And part of that might be it's you're
Mm.
out there energizing the whatever's out there, the ether. But it also just may be that when you think something, you start to work toward it. And so I started to think, before I leave here, I'm going to be on the air. Before I leave here, I'm going to be on the air. And then I was. One of my last days there, they let me do this little, I don't know, it was like a little pet segment or something.
Mm.
But I was able to do that. And I do feel like you have to really set some intentions and do things. And I haven't even gotten to podcasting yet. So you want me to segue into that?
Okay.
Uh,
That's awesome. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. So in podcasting, I think it's different. I'm still trying to figure out podcasting, and I would just say before you go in it, don't think that you're going to get a million followers and be making a lot of money because, it's a very grueling thing to be able to build up an audience, and everybody starts out with 0 subscribers, and you hope to grow and hopefully people start to catch on to your content, and so be willing to work hard and realize that there's nothing magical to suddenly being a superstar in the YouTube field or anything. You have to really work hard. And I'm still in that phase where I'm trying to build up my podcast. I have about 62,000 subscribers now, and I'm still plugging away, and it's a lot of work, but if you're in it for the reward of being able to connect with people like you and to be
Hmm.
able to, Chris, connect with other people that you interview. It's wonderful, and to be part of communities like that. But just realize that it's not going to be as easy as just going out and getting a job and earning some money that way. It's going to be a lot of work,
Absolutely.
and you got to put in a lot of time before, hopefully someday, it will pay off the efforts. But it's a lot of work. So
Absolutely, it is, no question. I got a lot more subscribers to get to before I even hit that number of 62,000 for sure.
yeah,
I'm hoping one day I can get there. That's for sure. But I'm gonna keep
yeah.
working, keep grinding, and we'll see. We'll see
Well,
about
you
that.
do a great job. You do a wonderful job, and it's. I hope people do find your podcast because that's a lot of it. Once they find you and they go, "Wow, this is really interesting," the discussions that he's having with people. I know people will really appreciate it, but a lot of times it's just the hard part is getting people to know about you.
Absolutely, no
Yeah.
question. And like I said, I'm gonna continue working, continue having wonderful conversations, and not just with people in my genre, which is journalism, but or podcasting, but people in different genres as well. I want to be able to talk to musicians and actresses and
Mhm.
actors and different
Mhm.
people like that because I want to be able to pull from those jobs as well and get their
Yeah.
mindset as well. So and hear their story, which is the most important thing. So I love that. We are Heather, now we are at the point of the podcast where we are
Right.
going to do the interactive game called This or That.
Mm.
So, this is an interactive game that I like to play with all my guests here on the Work
Okay.
Hard, Play Hard podcast, where I throw some things at you and you get to choose this or that. Heather, are
Okay.
you with me?
I hope so.
All right, here we go. Listen, we've been vibing all podcasts. So, you and I, we've been good. So, this first question is pivotal, especially since you in the ATL. Which
Okay.
one are you choosing? Popeyes or KFC?
Popeyes.
Now, the girl, we good. We good right now, girl. We are real good right now. Here we go. All right, let's see if we can keep it going.
Okay.
Chicken wing flavors, barbecue or lemon pepper.
Lemon pepper.
Okay. Do you like your wings wet or dry?
I like them both.
Okay. Which one would you say is 51%? Which one would you say is
Dry.
59%? Oh,
Dry. Dry just
oh,
because the wets probably taste better, but it's a lot messier.
it is. It is. But
So
listen, all you need is a wet wipe, Heather. Wipe your mouth,
that's
wet wipe, and you good. You good to
no,
go.
you need
Okay.
several wet wipes.
Hello, I'm with you on that. All right. Do you like your wings bone in or boneless?
Bone in.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Now, these next four
Okay.
questions are music concerts you rather attend. Okay,
Okay.
so here we go. Which music concert would you rather go to? Would you rather go see Journey or the Eagles?
Journey.
Okay.
That's a tough one. That's a really tough one.
I bet it was. I
Yeah.
see like the light bulb and everything was rolling in your head when I said that. Okay, here we go. Is the
Well, and I
next
said that because my friend just invited me to go to a Journey concert that's in another state, and I'm debating on it. Yeah. So
okay,
yeah.
okay. I love it. Now, which concert would you rather go to? Would you
Okay.
rather go see Whitney Houston or Janet Jackson?
Whitney Houston.
Okay. I like that. I
Mhm.
like it. Okay. Which concert, if you had the choice, would you rather go see? Would you rather go see Prince again or Michael Jackson?
Wow. That is a really hard one.
Oh, it is. I know it.
Oh my gosh. Mm. Maybe Michael Jackson because I have already seen Prince, but oh, that Prince was that's that's a hard one. That's a hard
I
one.
know it is.
Can I
I
go to
know it
both?
is. You sure can. You definitely can go to both for sure. No question. But we're gonna take Michael Jackson for this one.
Okay,
This one. That question. I knew it would be a hard one for you. I knew it would.
yeah.
Okay, this one might be hard too. This is the last
Okay.
musical. Which artist would you rather go see? Boys to Men or New Edition?
Oh gosh, probably Boys to Men, but I'm not as, I wasn't as into those bands, but I would probably just say Boys to Men.
Really? Really? Not Boys to Men?
I mean, I like their music, but it's not like I ever felt like I wanted to go to a concert.
I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
like that. Which sport would you rather play?
Okay.
Badminton or bowling?
Bowling.
Are you a good bowler, Heather?
No,
Okay. Do you need the bumpers?
I don't need the bumpers, but I might get a few that go in the gutter.
No, see, that's okay. As long as you don't need the bumpers, because
Yeah, I don't need the bumpers.
we can't do the bumpers.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. Okay, I'm with you on that.
Okay.
Which sport would you rather watch on TV if you had to choose a sport?
Okay.
Would it be basketball or baseball?
Baseball. 100%.
I tried to throw in the basketball. I thought
Yeah.
you might want to watch that over baseball, but you chose baseball. I feel that.
No, no,
Okay.
no.
Do you like dessert?
Do I like what?
Desserts.
Oh, dessert. Yes, I do.
Okay. So I'm going to throw four categories at you,
Okay.
and you have to choose one of these you'll never eat again.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So here we go.
Okay.
The first one is ice cream.
Okay.
The second one is cookies.
Okay.
The third one is cake.
Okay.
The last one is candy. Which one are you getting rid of that you'll never eat again?
It would either be candy or ice cream.
Okay.
Um, let's go with candy.
Okay. I'm with you on that. I would have chose candy too, to be honest with you, because I'm not giving up my red velvet cake. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do it.
Or German
Um,
chocolate cake. Yeah.
oh, that's actually my mother's favorite cake, German chocolate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of that, but I do. If you take the German off, I'm with the chocolate cake. Yeah, I'm with that.
Oh, no, you got
Yeah.
to have that coconut kind of maple,
See,
whatever it is. It's good. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's she loves that. I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Give me the red velvet. I'm with that all day.
That's good too.
Okay,
That's good.
absolutely. Do you like potato chips?
Yes.
Okay, same format.
Okay.
Four brands. You got to get rid of one. Okay, so
Okay.
here we go. First brand is Pringles.
Okay.
Second brand is Ruffles.
Okay.
The
It's
third
Ruffles.
brand.
Whatever you say, it's Ruffles.
Oh, oh Lord, what the hell? Oh no,
Okay.
Heather. What? Oh no, you
All right,
can't.
keep
I
going.
didn't get done. I didn't even finish with the other two.
You didn't have to. You didn't have to. Yeah.
Okay. Are
What
you
would,
a
what,
salt and vinegar person?
no, that actually would have been it. I don't like salt and vinegar chips either.
Okay. Okay. The reason why I say what I say is Ruffles sour cream and cheddar to me is the
Okay.
greatest chip ever made.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
No. Okay.
I'm
Now,
just not a Ruffles. I don't like the ruffly chip. I like an Old Dutch. Remember Old Dutch potato chips?
wow. Yeah, I
Like
do.
that's a good potato chip. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I feel that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that. Well, at least we got the sweets. We ain't got the savory or the salty, but we got the sweets, right? So that's okay. That's all right. Um, with that being said, you did pretty good on this or that, by the way.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. Thank you. I
Yeah.
love asking this next question,
Okay.
especially to people who are journalists and podcasters.
hmm
If you didn't choose a career in journalism or podcasting, what career path would you have chosen to do and why?
It would have been either graphic arts or something with animals, like a veterinarian. As a kid, I always wanted to be a veterinarian, and I love animals, so that probably would have been the career choice.
I love that. I
Mhm.
do. That is amazing. Absolutely amazing to hear
Yeah,
that. What's your favorite animal?
cats.
Okay, got you.
Mhm.
I do like cats. I'm a huge dog lover, but
I
I
have a dog
definitely
too. Yeah.
dog lover too. Okay, got you. Do
hmm
they fight?
No, my dog is so chill with my cats. In fact, we about 3 years ago
Hmm.
trapped a pregnant feral cat and
Wow,
brought her into our house so that the kittens wouldn't be feral as well. And then I planned to put her back, but that didn't happen. She ended up staying here, putting her back after I fixed her. But um, but it was amazing. She loved my dog. She was afraid of us. But from day one, she loved my dog. And my dog's this huge 90-pound dog. And so my dog is very gentle with the cats. Yeah, she's a sweetheart.
I
She's kind
love
of,
that.
she's a little afraid of him sometimes. It's funny.
Yeah, that's understood. I
Yeah,
totally understand that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, what is maybe like a top three of guests that you would like to have on your podcast that you haven't had a chance to get to yet? Maybe like a bucket list.
Okay. Anita Morjani.
Okay.
I would like to have her on. Um, gosh, there's some I've got to try to think of their name. Robin Lansong, she's got a really neat story as well.
Okay.
Oh, gosh, I'm trying to think of names that some of these
Mm,
I can't think of all their names, but another one I haven't had on yet who I think would be interesting is Daniel Brinkley. So those three are all kind of very classic near-death experiences that came out that I read, some of my first books were with, Betty Eadie. She'd be another one. Betty
mm.
Eadie was the very first book I read on near-death experiences. So hopefully you will see these people on my show coming up within the next year or so.
Where can they listen to this podcast? I mean, like you said, besides maybe YouTube or subscribe to you on YouTube or whatnot, but where else could they listen to the podcast?
They can listen to my podcast on YouTube. Right now I just exclusively do YouTube. It's called
Okay.
Beyond with Heather Tesch.
Yep.
And you can go to my playlist and there's you know I don't know, like 150 podcasts that I've already done that you can
Absolutely.
watch, that or episodes I should say, and it's all people that have had near death experiences, or there's a couple that had spiritually transformative experiences but they're similar to a near death experience. I just thought of one other person that would be really my ideal guest if I could get him on. It's the actor that was run over by the snowplow. I'm blanking on his name right now.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
but he's never outright said he had a near-death experience, but he's hinted at it, and so I would love to talk to him about it. I can't think of his
Mm.
name off the top of my head, but he's a well-known. He was in some of the Marvel comics, I think.
Oh, okay. So was it like it
And
wasn't Robert Downey Jr., it wasn't him, right?
no, and I think now he's on a show called The Mayor. Um,
Okay. Is it Jeremy Renner? Is it Jeremy Renner?
yes, yes, I would
Right.
love to speak with him. And sorry, the name blanked, but that
No,
happens to
you're
me.
good. I know that show. I watched that show.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I
I
know
would
him.
love, yeah, I would love to talk to him. That would be really incredible just because he's never shared too much, but he did kind of indicate that, maybe there was something that he saw. So
Right. Now, see, talking to all these people made me want to ask you, did you ever have a near death experience?
I have never had a near-death experience, no, but I'm very fascinated by them. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask because
Yeah.
sometimes when you're fascinated with something, is there's a correlation to it
Right.
almost, right? So,
I always say not that I've not that I know of. I haven't.
okay,
Yeah,
I'm with
yeah,
you on that. Totally.
not that I know of, yeah.
What
Yeah.
is some advice that someone has gave you that you hold on dearly to? We talked about advice you gave, but what is some advice that someone has given you that you hold on dearly to?
I think just the fact that your thoughts create your reality. I mentioned that earlier, but I think that's important because no matter what you're trying to do, you want to stay very positive about it because it's easy to get down, when you're not sure where life is going and you're like, am I going to make it? Or maybe you lost your job and you're going, oh my gosh, I've got to find something now. I mean, we all go through these kinds of challenges and struggles throughout life. And I really think that we have to keep refocusing our minds on positive places of where we want to go. And I think that leads us to better places. If you think negatively, you're going to act in negative ways. If you kind of think positively and you think of great outcomes, you're going to do things that'll move you in that direction. So that's probably s- some great advice I've gotten along the way. There's so much more probably, but I can't. It's hard sometimes to think of things right on the spot. But
Mhm. I'm sure. I'm
yeah.
sure. No,
Yeah,
but that's
and
that's really
then
good advice.
maybe one other thing, and this is maybe more with people that are into listening to near-death experiences or kind of spiritual things, that we are so much greater than we think we are. And so we have to try to keep that in mind too, that we are just so much more. We think very limited, but we really are these amazing souls that live within this body. And we are capable of so much more sometimes than we believe. And I think that the beliefs that we have kind of hold us back to what we actually can achieve in life. So,
I love it. I appreciate it. No doubt. This
yeah,
has been a really cool conversation, Heather.
yes, yes.
Definitely learned a lot about you, learned a lot about your hard work, learned a lot about your passion, learned a lot about your podcast. I'm a new fan of yours. I've
Oh,
subscribed to the page. I'm
oh,
definitely
thank
going to
you.
be listening to more episodes of it because I love to learn different things. This is something that's definitely different in my wheelhouse or my normal wheelhouse of being in sports and entertainment. So listening
Mhm.
to a podcast about near death experiences is definitely something different, but it's definitely something that I welcome as well. So I really do appreciate your perspective, your advice, also about being in this industry as well. So as I always do, the very last question that I ask is there anything else you would like to add about yourself, your podcast, or just anything in general before we conclude?
No, just that if anybody's interested, I would be grateful if you just want to check it out and watch a few different ones because they're all different. And so one might be more in your comfort zone and one might be more outside of your comfort zone. So do watch many. I have no religious thing that I'm trying to get out there. It's just different people sharing their stories of what they saw. And there's a variety of things that they've seen. So again, I'm grateful if you check it out. I just want to thank you, Chris, because this has really been a wonderful experience. I am going to be a subscriber to your show as well. I
Mhm.
appreciate that you are just putting out something positive out there. And I really think that this is helpful information. I hope a lot of young college age people will listen to your show. I think that's, an audience that really could benefit from this, as well as anybody that's considering making changes in their career, what they're doing, because sometimes those leaps are very difficult to do. And so I,
Absolutely.
I think that you're putting out something really great that so many people really could use. It's going to be very helpful to a lot of people.
I appreciate that, Heather, quite a bit. And I appreciate you so much.
Thank
You
you.
enjoy the rest of your Monday and the
I
rest of
will.
your week. And you and I will definitely be in touch.
Thank you. I would love to. And yes, it was wonderful, wonderful to get to know you. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yes, indeed.
Bye bye.